you think that that impacts the room that we've made for a woman to be president?
Well, as we saw in this past election, sadly, we ain't ready. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running, because you all are lying. You're not ready for a woman. You are not. So don't waste my time. You know, we got a lot of growing up to do.
I mean, her statement, I was rather shocked by it.
Yeah.
She said, as we saw in the past election, sadly, we ain't ready. Okay, to me, this is logical fallacy 101. Just because we weren't ready or didn't like the candidates, Hillary and Kamala, doesn't mean we're not ready for a woman.
Maybe Bill Maher has set his sights on Michelle Obama, and his commentary is absolutely scorching. The Real Time with Bill Maher host unloaded on the former First Lady over her recent statements about gender bias in America. Michelle Obama has been making headlines for remarks that many consider eyebrow-raising, and Maher's reaction didn't just challenge her points, it exposed what he sees as the glaring double standards behind them. Buckle up, because his response is nothing short of blistering.
Ways America continues to divide itself. Nowhere is it more pronounced than in gender, and until the Democrats come to grips with that, they won't have much success winning elections. Let's just put it out there. Women are the Democrats' base, and men who get hit in the head for a living are Trumps. They're the bro party, the party of car shows on the White House lawn and breaking shit and seeing what happens and busting balls and shooting stuff like beer. It's been that way for a long time, the mommy party and the daddy party, the party of hats and the party of truck.
Maher begins by highlighting what he sees as a growing gender divide in American politics, a trend he says should concern both sides of the aisle. One gender overwhelmingly gravitating toward one political party, while the other leans heavily toward the opposite, isn't progress, he argues. It's a sign of deepening polarization. And Maher makes it clear there's nothing admirable about that. But that isn't even his biggest issue. What truly sets him off are the talking points promoted by the political left, and recently amplified by Michelle Obama, specifically the claim that America is inherently biased against electing a female president. Maher isn't buying it. He views it as a misleading narrative that ignores key realities and only fuels more division. So when the clip plays, Maher doesn't hold back. His stance is unmistakable, and his takedown is sharp, unapologetic, and brutally straightforward.
I mean, her statement, I was rather shocked by it.
Yeah.
She said, as we saw in the past election, sadly, we ain't ready. Okay, to me, this is logical fallacy 101. Just because we weren't ready or didn't like the candidates, Hillary and Kamala, doesn't mean we're not ready for a woman. Maybe. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running, because you are all lying. You're not ready for a woman. You are not, so don't waste my time. We've got a lot of growing up to do, and there are still, sadly, a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman. I think it's a bad attitude. I do. I mean, we said we weren't ready for a black president, and someone, I can't remember who, maybe she remembers, said maybe it just has to be.
Maher dismantles Michelle Obama's argument by focusing on what he considers the logical flaws that undermine her claim entirely. He argues that Hillary Clinton's loss or Kamala Harris's failure to gain momentum doesn't prove Americans are unwilling to elect a woman. Instead, it simply shows those particular candidates don't connect with voters. According to Maher, Americans don't vote based on gender. They vote for people who understand their challenges, address their concerns, and offer solutions that meaningfully improve their lives. Reducing election outcomes to sexism, he says, is not only lazy, but also dismissive of voters' intelligence. People aren't rejecting women, he insists. They're rejecting messages, policies, and personalities that fail to resonate. And by pretending otherwise, the left only deepens resentment while ignoring what voters are actually asking for.
About Michelle Obama's hair.
It was shocking to me. Well, I didn't really have that choice as First Lady.
Of course,
right? Every day, every time I was up, as we called it, I was up for the public. And the days were long. So, as you mentioned, to save time.
Yes.
You know, I know having a glam team, a trifecta, it feels like a luxury, but it was a time necessity.
Yes.
There's absolutely no way that I would be able to do my hair and makeup and have clothes ready that fit, you know, because rare is the woman that can live off the rack.
Right? No one can live off the rack. I'm sorry, but you have to subject yourself to the burdens of a hair.
Michelle Obama often presents herself as a symbol of the challenges women face. Yet critics argue many of her interviews focus heavily on her personal experiences with public scrutiny, sometimes to the point of overshadowing her broader political arguments. Maher sees this as a strange contradiction. On one hand, she insists that women are fully capable of leading the nation. On the other, she repeatedly highlights how overwhelming basic grooming routines become under public attention. Maher's point isn't that her stories are false, it's that they inadvertently distract from the message she claims to champion. And when that same person lectures the country about fearing female leadership, Maher says it feels less like empowerment and more like political theater.
By the way, how rich have they become since they left office? I mean, this is the deal,
Hundreds
right?
of millions.
They serve their country on a not insignificant sum of money. I think it's about $400,000 a year the president gets. And they live in unparalleled luxury the entire time they're in office. And when they leave, they make hundreds of millions, if not billions, of dollars. Has anyone got a tiny violin for me that I can start playing here?
Yes. And
ridiculous!
Not for nothing, but did you see that hideous outfit she was wearing? I'm sorry.
That's what having too much money does for you.
I've just never met somebody so ungrateful in all my life. And what did she start it off with? People said I was hateful. Because you are. She can't stand America. She definitely can't stand Barack. And I don't think she likes herself very much either. So she's been doing this nonstop tour. And I just think there's a strain. She's woke. He's woke. Yeah. There's a strain in the woke that leads you to be
Megyn Kelly cuts straight to the core of the issue when she explains why voters didn't rally behind Kamala Harris and why they wouldn't line up behind Michelle Obama either. In her view, the reason is simple. Both women represent the hyper-woke political culture that many Americans have grown weary of. Instead of addressing the core concerns shaping everyday life, the economy, security, stability, national strength, they often focus on symbolic battles and side issues that feel disconnected from real-world struggles. Kelly argues that this fixation on identity politics doesn't build confidence. It pushes voters away. What makes it even more perplexing, she says, is their tendency to criticize America while simultaneously thriving within it. To many Americans, that contradiction seems hollow. The barrier keeping these women out of the White House isn't sexism. It's their messaging, their priorities, and their disconnect from reality.
Our head naturally in a curly pattern. So when we're straightening it to follow your beauty standards, we are trapped by the straightness. That's why so many of us can't swim and we run away from the water. People won't go to the gym because we're trying to keep our hair straight for y'all. Braids are for y'all so we can work harder and focus on the work. So why do we need an act? An act of law to tell white folks to get out.
I played the clip because it underscores another major reason critics say the Michelle Obama brand is losing appeal, her persistent focus on racial identity. Critics argue that Michelle Obama often centers race in her messaging to a degree that overshadows broader political issues. They point out that she frequently revisits racial themes in her commentary, sometimes so often that it begins to feel repetitive. And that repetition, they say, clashes with the very liberal ideal she claims to defend. Progressives once promoted a see-no-color philosophy, insisting that true equality meant moving beyond racial categories. Yet Michelle does the opposite. She highlights race in nearly every story, every grievance, every political argument. This, critics claim, is the definition of woke, not eliminating racial divides, but obsessing over them.
That impacts the room that we've made for a woman to be president?
Well, as we saw in this past election, sadly, we ain't ready. That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running, because you all are lying. You're not ready for a woman. You are not. So don't waste my time You know, we got a lot of growing up to do. And there's still, sadly, a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman, and we saw it. What was the question?
I just said, we don't need to ask it again. You answered it.
So,
femininity, wifedom.
yeah. I mean, I think we still have growth.
Many critics reject Michelle Obama's argument outright, insisting that the issue isn't that Americans fear female leaders. It's that they expect real-world standards to be met. Voters don't choose someone simply because she's a woman. They choose leaders based on ideas, competence, and policies that genuinely move the nation forward. That's what Michelle, they argue, ignores. Voters aren't obligated to support a candidate because she checks identity boxes. They want leaders who understand their daily struggles and provide real solutions. And if Kamala Harris had stepped back from ideological talking points long enough to focus on issues that truly matter, economic stability, safety, affordability, jobs, she may have earned far stronger support. Instead, she leaned into rhetoric that felt increasingly disconnected from everyday life. That, critics say, is why she didn't win votes. Not because Americans fear women, but because Americans expect substance. Gender doesn't win elections. Effective leadership does. Maher sees that clearly, and that is the message he directs at Michelle Obama and the Democratic Party.
Well, the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it.